Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. I'm excited to bring a wonderful guest onto the show, Jamey Lutz, who's an expert in experience management and cultural transformation. He has worked at many different organizations, one of which was as director of quality at the Ritz-Carlton in Palm Beach, Florida, an amazing property. We have a lot to learn from him. Before we get started, quick announcement. If you've got an amazing customer service or experience story that you want to share with me, I want to hear about it. Or if you have a question that you'd like me to answer, please reach out to me in any of the social channels because I'm pretty much everywhere. If it is a question, use the hashtag Ask Shep. I'll either answer a question right there in that social channel on this show, and I might even answer it in my newsletter. Make an entire article about it for that matter, and you can get that newsletter if you're not a subscriber by simply going to hyken.com. That's HYKEN.com. Subscribe at no charge to the newsletter. You'll get a newsletter every single week. I do a clever cartoon with it. And also, while you're there, be sure to check out my annual customer service and experience research. Once again, won't cost you anything. You just download it. It's free. You don't even have to put your email address in for that. So I hope you take advantage of that. All right, everybody, let's get into our interview with Jamey Lutz. Jamey, welcome to the show.
Hey, Shep, I am super ecstatic. I have been on the Shep Hyken bandwagon for a long time, and this is a great opportunity for me to jump on it even more.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Feelings mutual. I looked at your background, and I mean, working at the Ritz-Carlton as director of quality. And by the way, in Palm Beach, that's a pretty nice place.
Indeed. Indeed it was.
We learned so much. We've had a number of people on our show from the hotel and hospitality industry, and the hospitality mentality is extremely important to any type of business. But people who come from the Ritz-Carlton, this is what you live and breathe, and I love it. One of the things that you're very focused on is creating this culture, and I believe if you are going to have a customer-focused culture, and by the way, you may call them guests, clients, members, whatever you want to call them, we're going to use the word customer today, but to have a customer-focused culture, or to have a customer-focused experience for the customer, you have to have the culture. It's got to be throughout the entire organization. So we're going to cover some of that today. Jamey, I know I can go on and on about, you working with the Ritz and your consulting projects that you're on now. You've written the book, Pathway to Purpose, Big Ideas for Fueling Irresistible Corporate Cultures, which is available at your favorite dealer or Amazon book dealer.
That's right. Exactly right.
So, but let's get a little more background from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been very fortunate, Shep, over the years. I have been in many industries, but have always played in a sandbox of customer experience, employee engagement, organizational culture. So I started my career actually in pro sports in Orlando when Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway were with the Magic. I like to say I was part of the package deal for Shaq when he was a rookie. To come in. And I worked as an unpaid intern. You could get away with that back then at the time in public relations. But I carved out a niche, had an opportunity to carve out a niche in their fan experience. So they had of course, the Magic, they had a minor league hockey team at the time, and then a women's WNBA team. And so I oversaw the game night or fan experience for each of those entities. That then led me to Ritz-Carlton and then a host of other industries and organizations, including banking, healthcare, mortgage. I worked with a consulting training company at one point. But again, my sweet spot and my passion has always been in the customer experience and organizational culture space.
I had no idea about the sports background. That was nowhere to be found in any.
Well, that goes way back, Shep. That's like,
but still, what a way. So you hung out with the Shaq.
I did
when he was smaller.
Yeah, exactly. I think his shoes, Shep, were bigger than I was. That's how big that guy is. So
Yeah, and what a boy, he's done well and he's branded himself well, and that's another whole story. But let's jump into this. There's a great line that I found in some of this information that you shared with me, and that is mere satisfaction is not good enough. Now, I've got a take on this that satisfied customers are not loyal customers. As a matter of fact, if all you do is satisfy your customer, our research that we do every year indicates that about 1 in 4 customers don't come back, even if they're just satisfied, because there's so many other choices. So let's talk about that for a little while. And what's your take on that?
yeah, and I completely concur with what you're saying. And a lot of my background too is in surveying and kind of data analysis. And if you look at a lot of good, not exceptional organizations, and you look at their survey scores, whether it's customer sat or NPS or whatever it is they use as kind of a primary metric, you've got hopefully a lot of people that are kind of top box that are giving you good scores. You've got a few people that are really upset and unhappy with you, which you got to deal with those people. But in the
You can learn a
middle,
lot from those people as well.
you absolutely can, and you have to because from a word of mouth perspective, they can destroy you. But there's also a group of people in the middle where those folks would say, you know what, it was okay. It was pretty much what I expected. Um, would I go somewhere else if I found a better deal or was more convenient? You better bet I would. And so, what we fail to do as an organization or as organizations often is we focus on those really, really bad experiences, which we have to, I'm not saying we shouldn't. We've got the really great ones, which we want to maintain, but we don't do a lot. We don't focus a lot on that kind of mediocrity, that mediocre group that says, it was okay. And everybody is generally okay, or you won't stay in business. So you got to really focus on pushing those people up to the top.
I refer to that middle customer as a dangerous customer. It's not like they're going to come in and hurt you or, just do something disruptive to your culture or to your company, but danger in the fact that you think they're happy because they don't complain, because there's not enough for them to complain them out. But then again, there's not enough to get them to say on a continual basis, I'll be back. This is the company I want to keep doing business with. And just the mere fact that they don't complain doesn't mean that they're happy.
Exactly.
And
most people, there's a large percentage of people that won't complain even if they are unhappy. And that's the thing you got to be careful about.
Yeah.
Whether they're really unhappy or it was fine, it was okay.
Right. So obviously, taking care of unhappy customers is a way to build loyalty. When somebody says, and I just wrote an article about this, that I gave 2 horrific experiences. I showed up to a doctor's office, and once I was there, they told me they made a mistake and overbooked and they couldn't see me.
Oh.
Okay. However, the way the lady handled it with such empathy, sympathy, and actually horrific feelings about how she let me down, I said, as upset as I was when I first heard it, I go, please, it's okay. It's just an appointment.
Yes.
And then she went full board into finding me another time, another opportunity to get together. And you want to know when I got the survey? I gave her a 5 on a scale of 1 to 5.
Yes.
Yes. And almost the same day, that week, like the next day, I'm having lunch and my sandwich was brought out the wrong way. And before it ever hit the table, I could see in her eyes, oh my God, this is wrong. And everybody else had their food, but she had to go back and get another sandwich for me without even telling me. Well, I knew why it was wrong, because I had asked for one thing: no mayonnaise. Everything else is fine. And she looked at it, people, oh my gosh. Now, the way she handled it, and even though everybody was almost finished by the time I got my meal, she was so nice. Once again, surveys come, I'm giving her a 5. Now, if that happens every time, I'm not coming back. Okay?
Right.
But you assume that problems aren't going to be continuous. And that's why my friend Tom Baldwin, who ran Morton's Steakhouse as their CEO, and he said his definition of great service was mistakes handled well.
I like that.
I'd say that'd be one definition or part of the definition.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool way of looking at things.
I agree. Hey, Shep, on that note, one of the things I love about your organization is that you back up a lot of your assertions and theories with data. And one of the companies that I used to work for in the healthcare space, we were able to prove that if a customer has a really negative experience and you do an awesome job, like you just explained with the doctor's office, you do an awesome job of recovering them, not just a decent job, but an awesome job, they will score you and become more loyal than they would have if the problem had never occurred. And
Right.
so while we don't want to ever create problems, there's a huge opportunity there when they happen.
Yeah, I used to tell the story about the cell phone provider way back in the day when you bought mobile phones, that you brought your car in and they bolted the box to the floor and they put an antenna on your car.
Yes.
And what's the first thing you do when you drive away? As soon as you go out, you get on the parking lot, you want to make a phone call. And they found out it was a bad thing to do, but they purposely checked or tested if something wasn't working. And then you brought the phone back in or you drove your car back in and they fixed it and they smiled and did everything right. They thought they would create a better experience, but it didn't work. It's got to be a genuine type of mistake.
That's a little bit of a gamble there.
I know,
right?
but they were testing the theory that they would create more loyalty if they fixed the problem the right way. But anyway, that's a great way of looking at it. So, satisfaction. I'm going to tell you our survey results since you mentioned the data, and I really love this. I tried to come up with what the right question was. Vanderbilt University professors, Anthony J. Zahorek and Roland T. Rust, back probably 20 years ago, did this study, and they said that like 20 some odd % of satisfied customers don't come back. And in the industries that you were in, especially hotel, hospitality industry, that number goes way high because you've got a choice of all these different brands. Often they're right near each other.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't like brand X, you can go to brand Y the next time you're in. So I try to figure out what the exact question was to get me the right information. So here's the question we came up with. On a scale of 1 to, and by the way, I'll share the data, but I want to share with you the methodology because it's something I think we can talk about. On a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is bad, 2 is fair, 3 is average or satisfactory, and I made that real clear.
Yep.
4 is good, 5 is excellent. How likely is it you would return to a company or brand if you rated them a 3, average or satisfactory? And 27% of customers said they are either not likely or never will come back. So,
that's telling.
but I wanted to define that average and satisfactory are kind of the same thing.
Yes.
And now, a satisfied customer, you can interpret that different ways. But if people say, how was the experience? If somebody says satisfactory, what do you think they're saying?
Yeah.
That's fantastic, or it's just okay?
It's meh.
Meh. I wonder if that's a rating. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 bad, 2 fair, 3 meh.
I think we're onto something here, Shep. I like that.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the culture building that it takes to create that customer-focused environment. We're talking with Jamey Lutz, who is the author of Pathway to Purpose, Big Ideas for Fueling Irresistible Corporate Cultures. Don't go away. We're coming right back. Shep Hyken here with an offer that won't cost you a cent. You may have heard me talk about my annual customer service and experience research. We've surveyed thousands of customers matching the U.S. Census for age, gender, ethnicity, and geography, and we find out what customers love, hate, and want in a customer experience. What's the number one customer experience that almost every customer desires? What makes them come back? What makes them leave? Why won't they fill out surveys? What do they think of AI? Well, these questions and more are answered in the research. You can download the full report by going to hyken.com and clicking on the research tab at the top. Like I said, it won't cost you a cent, but it may make you or save you thousands and thousands of dollars when you understand your customers' expectations. Again, the website is www.hyken.com.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We are back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Jamey Lutz, and I promised our audience we'd talk a little bit about culture, which is a lot of what you did at the Ritz-Carlton when you were director of quality for their Palm Beach location. Again, nice place, Palm Beach. That's like one of the richest, most expensive places to live in the entire United States.
It really is, and it was an odd place at that time, being very young with a wife, and I had one child, I think, at that time. It was a strange place to try to raise a child, but it was interesting nonetheless.
The beautiful people are in Palm Beach.
Absolutely.
Don't accidentally say West Palm Beach. They become very offended, even though it's right next door. Anyway, well, let's talk about your Ritz experience.
Yeah, well, I would say as much as anything in my career, the Ritz experience kind of set the tone for my passion for customer service and quality and organizational culture. And it caused me to um, really want to be in that space for a career and for a lifetime.
And so what got you excited? I mean, when you first went to work there, was that your job or did you start somewhere else?
No, it was. I was actually at that time, each Ritz-Carlton property had a DOQ, a director of quality, which was part of the on-property executive team. And a lot of what I did was putting together cross-functional teams to look at areas of underperformance. So, of course, we did a lot of surveying, and we might find that the front desk experience is underperforming compared to the Ritz as a whole. And we would do data analysis and interviews, whatever it took within that cross-functional team to better understand what was driving it. So root cause analysis. And then we would devise strategies that we would track and record over the course of a year to see if we could get those scores up to equal and hopefully exceed what the rest of the company was doing. So it was all about, again, like kind of what we were talking about before, moving mediocre to exceptional, depending on what area of the hotel was struggling.
And so were you benchmarking against other Ritz-Carltons that had higher scores and were actually maybe there were some good best practices that they could share that would help you in training properly? Let's say it was the front desk. I mean, there's so many different groups and departments, but is that how it worked?
Yeah, 100%. And that's one of the great things about Ritz-Carlton is it had individual hotels, but there was a great kind of esprit de corps of sharing best practices and looking for opportunities to take what other hotels are doing and to fit it and match it so that you could implement it within your hotel. And I would say also part of what we did too is going outside of the Ritz and looking perhaps at retail or other areas of hospitality for companies or properties that were doing it really, really well and looking to replicate it in a way that best suited our customers.
You almost read my mind because my next question was, what if my organization, small or large, isn't a group of something, it's just a standalone business? How am I able to benchmark or compare? And you're saying go outside of your own business or industry even and take a look at some of the other types of businesses. And I refer to that as you can be best in class or you can be world class. And when you start looking outside of your own industry, and then you have a comment in here about something about sameness, the sameness dilemma. I think that and I don't know if this is your take on this, but what if all I'm doing is looking at other people in my industry, whether it be hotels, grocery stores, I don't know, manufacturing facilities, my direct competitors, and I'm just trying to compare myself to them, it's the same. I mean, yeah. And by the way, if our industry is a dog industry, I'm just basically the best dog of a horse race.
Yeah. Well, and Horst Schulze at Ritz-Carlton said we're the best of a lousy lot, right? I mean,
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And by the way, you live in Atlanta where Horst Schulze is, and I don't know if you ever hang out with him or ever get to.
I wish. No, yeah. but I did have opportunities to be around him quite a bit during my days there.
Yeah. A special guy. That's for
100%.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But Shep, related to the better sameness, yes, that is part of what I'm talking about, is if you kind of stay in your lane and don't go outside of it, it's very difficult to look beyond in an innovative way about how you can improve service. But the other piece of kind of better sameness is what I refer to, and this is not something that I came up with, but differences in kind versus differences in degree. A difference in degree would be, let's shave 2 minutes off of the wait time for someone calling into a call center. A difference in kind would be, let's do what Uber did, and let's transform the taxi business into a completely revolutionary different type of transportation mode where we don't even own any cars, or with other companies that have come and have done things where they're completely revolutionary. Netflix is an example. So if you're just staying in your lane, you're looking at differences in degree. If you're looking to change and create better experiences that are outside of your current journey map, then it's differences in kind.
And how do you get to that? It's easy to do 1 degree, but 2
Yes.
differences in kind. How do you get to that creative process, that brainstorming that allows you to do that?
Yeah, I think you start with the end in mind, right? So you look at what are the business outcomes, things like revenue, profitability, wallet share, that type of stuff that we need to move the needle on. So instead of doing incremental things where we're hoping that it might possibly move the needle on some of our business outcomes, let's start with those business outcomes and let's work our way back. So we know we want to drive revenues by 45% within the next 18 months. What are some strategies? And how would we change our customers' behavior in order to drive that? And then you open up this kind of creative bucket of things that are completely, again, outside of your journey map, that are not even on the map, that could potentially be a game changer for the organization and its outcomes, but even more importantly, could be a game changer for the customer in terms of, I started to say their expectations, but they don't even know what they don't know at this point.
Yeah. Lately, I have been, well, let me tell you, prior to lately, so for the most part, I have been telling clients to look at the journey map that they create and look at every interaction point and say, have you optimized that point? Have you found ways that it can go wrong and fix them so you mitigate or eliminate that? And are you getting the most out of it? But now, as I'm trying to become more innovative with my clients, I'm asking them to take a look at that touch point and think about outside of the industry, outside of their own business. What have they experienced with others? And is there any way, I mean, and another question I have, sometimes we'll do a little bit interactive workshop-y kind of things in my speech, but I'll say, and I'll just use a hotel, for example. We have a hotel. It looks like every other hotel. And let's say the hotel rooms are $300 a night. Doesn't matter. 100, 700.
Right.
It doesn't, well, let's just say it's $300 a night. That's about the average. What if we were to charge $3,000 a night instead of $300 a night? What would we give them different as a result of that? And we could even make it bigger. If we were to charge, $10,000 a night instead of $300, what would we do differently? And when you start thinking about all these amenities and these extras and whatever, then you say, okay, well, we can't charge $10,000, but we might be able to charge a little bit more. Can we scale this back, or can we still do that and stay within the budget of our customer, of our guest, and what they're willing to spend? It's just an idea. I don't know what you think of that or not, but is that a good approach?
No, I love that. And what I like also is this kind of sense of incubation and testing, test and learn with different concepts. Obviously, you don't roll it out across the organization to start with. You want to see.
Well, if you're big, like multiple locations, yeah, you test in a few and see.
Yeah, and I think too, you've always got to get feedback from the customer, because you could be improving things that they really don't give a rip about.
Right.
And so it's important to know, yes, this is better, but does that make any difference to you? And so you've got to continually iterate with the customers, I think.
What you think is important isn't always what the customer thinks is important. So make sure that they would like whatever change you're getting ready to make.
That's it.
Yep. All right,
it.
we are about out of time, and I warned you of my final question. It's my one thing question. Is there one last nugget of wisdom, one idea, one thing that you want to share with this audience before we jump?
Yeah, there is. I've been studying something recently called the paradox of choice. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Shep, but that basically just says intuitively, we think, let's say you're selling candy, or you've got a restaurant and you've got a menu, that the more options you give people, the better off you are. And research would tell us that that's actually not the case, that can create kind of purchase paralysis and even frustration. I think of the Cheesecake Factory, which by the way, I love.
I love that, but that's like a best-selling novel.
It is
There's
like
so many pages.
It's unbelievable. And the first time I went in there, I'm like, it all looks great, but I don't think I can make a decision. Like, I don't think I'm going to have to leave. And I think there's a lot of truth to that yes, we like choice, we like options as consumers, but too much can really be a debilitating and limiting kind of factor. And that's what research is really proven out over time. So I think it's important when we think about our products and services to limit it to a vital few, that we're absolutely king of the hill, that we're able to kill it better than any of our competitors do, and not try to be all things to all people.
Right. I like it. Stay in the lane, be very focused. The riches are in the niches.
Oh, I like that.
Hey, I like product paralysis. That was a good line. I've always called it analysis paralysis. But the point is, a confused customer or somebody that's overwhelmed is less likely to buy. And even if they do buy, the situation could be tainted as a result of that negative feeling, and it's not so much negative, that confused feeling they have.
Yes.
Which is great. Great ideas. Great ideas. This is why we call it Amazing Business Radio. Jamey, thanks for being on the show.
Shep, it's my pleasure, and best wishes to you and your organization and this show. I've just had a kick being on it.
Well, thank you. And the same to you. All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We'll be back next week with another interview. And until that time, this is Shep Hyken, and I am reminding you to always be amazing.